This is Shola. At just 12 years old, she had experienced more pain and hardship than most people do in a lifetime. Born and raised on the streets by a mentally ill mother, Shola had no father, no home, and no one to fight for her future. She spent only 2 years in school before dropping out because the one woman paying her fees disappeared. Hopeless, forgotten, yet incredibly smart. But one day, everything changed. She met Jessica, the daughter of a billionaire, studying in the best school money could buy, yet struggling to learn. And it was Shola, the barefoot girl from the gutter, who became her secret teacher. But when Jessica's powerful father discovered a homeless child teaching his daughter under a mango tree, what he did next will leave you speechless. So grab your popcorn, sit back, and get ready for one of the most powerful stories you've ever heard. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button to support more inspiring stories like this one. Dirty thing, I said leave here. A raw slap of spit landed just inches from Shola's bare feet. She didn't move. She'd grown used to the insults. The market woman's voice pierced the air again. Is this a rubbish ground? You and that mad woman better shift before I pour water in you. Shola tightened her grip on her mother, Abini, who sat barefoot beside the gutter, mumbling to herself and tracing patterns in the dust with one trembling finger. Her wrapper had fallen halfway, exposing scars and filth, but Abini didn't notice. She was lost in another world, one that only she could see. People walked past. Some slowed down. Some stared. One woman paused, shook her head, and kept walking. No one helped. No one ever did. Shola was 12 years old, but the streets had aged her soul. She didn't cry anymore when people called her names. Daughter of a mad woman. Gutter girl. Cursed child. She'd heard them all. What hurt more was the pity, the empty kind that came with a shake of the head and no hand of help. Her mother used to be beautiful, or so Shola imagined. On rare, lucid days, Abini would sing old Yoruba lullabies and call Shola princess. But those moments were like shooting stars, brief and gone before you could touch them. Most days, Abini couldn't even remember where she was. She'd scream at her reflection in puddles, throw stones at shadows, and run from imagined monsters. Shola had no father, not even a name, not even a photo. Who's my daddy? She'd once asked years ago. Abini had looked at her with hollow eyes and replied, I don't know. The rain. Maybe the rain. That was the end of that conversation. They slept under a broken kiosk near mile 12. If it rained, they got wet. If it was hot, they burned. Their mattress was a flattened carton. Their blanket was silence. Shola didn't even know what it meant to dream anymore. Survival was the only language she spoke. Each morning began the same way. Abini waking up screaming, clawing at the air. Shola would grab her, hold her close, whisper, It's me, Mommy. It's me. Then she'd gently clean her up, sometimes with just a rag and water from a gutter pipe, and lead her back to the same begging spot on the street. Her mother begged. Shola watched. That was their life. Occasionally people dropped coins. Mostly they dropped insults. Mommy, don't talk today, okay? Shola whispered that morning, tucking her mother's wrapper more tightly around her. Just sit. Just be quiet. But Abini suddenly stood and shouted at a passing car, Give me my wings! I left them in your boot! The driver honked and swerved. Shola felt her cheeks burn. She turned and met the eyes of a schoolgirl across the street, neatly dressed, holding a lunchbox. The girl stared for a moment, then quickly looked away, whispering to her friend and laughing. Shola looked down at her own legs, covered in dust, her toenails chipped, her hands dry. Her stomach grumbled, but she ignored it. Hunger was a constant companion. Still, beneath it all, she dreamed. She dreamed of sitting in a classroom, raising her hand to answer questions. She dreamed of wearing a uniform, writing in notebooks, reading books that weren't soaked in rainwater or torn at the edges. She dreamed of someone, anyone, calling her by name without scorn. But who would send the daughter of a mad woman to school? Who would care about a girl whose mother chased birds because she thought they were demons? Nobody. And yet, Shola still hoped. She watched children pass with their backpacks and neat braids, and she whispered to herself, one day she would sit in a real classroom, One day she would escape this cursed corner of Lagos. One day her mother would smile again and know her name. But as she reached into her bag to count the N10 note and the 3 coins they had gotten so far, she heard a hawker shout behind her, "Thunderfire poverty!" Shola didn't look back. She just held her mother tighter and whispered, "Amen." It started with a plate of jollof rice. Shola had been crouching beside her mother near a shoddy that afternoon, her stomach tying itself into knots from hunger. Her mother was having one of her silent days, just rocking back and forth like a broken record, her eyes unfocused, lips twitching. That's when Shola noticed a woman watching her from across the road. The woman stood behind a steaming food stand. Plastic chairs, a wooden table, 2 coolers, and the unmistakable scent of cooked rice and pepper soup. She was fair-skinned, full-bodied, and wore a simple Ankara gown. There was something in her gaze, something that wasn't pity. Shola looked away, embarrassed. She hated being watched like an animal in a zoo. Minutes later, the woman crossed the road and stood in front of her. "What's your name?" she asked gently. Shola stared at her bare feet, then whispered, "Shola." "Where's your mother's?" Shola pointed at the woman beside her, who was now singing to an empty bottle. The woman's eyes softened. "She's sick, isn't she?" Shola nodded. "What did you eat today?" Shola didn't answer. Instead of asking further, the woman held out a covered takeaway plate. "Here, eat." Shola hesitated. Strangers didn't give food without expecting something in return, something she wasn't willing to give. "Don't worry," the woman smiled. "I'm not like the others." That was the first time she met Auntie Linda. The food was hot, the rice sweet, the meat soft. Shola hadn't eaten meat in months. That same evening, Auntie Linda returned with bottled water and soap. "What's your story, child?" she asked as she helped Shola wash her hands. Shola told her everything. The madness, the market, the school she once peeped into, the hunger, the hope, the dreams. She didn't cry, but her voice cracked. Auntie Linda wiped her hands with a handkerchief. "Tomorrow come to my shop. You'll help me clean. In return, I'll feed you. Deal?" Shola nodded so hard her head almost fell off. The next day Shola came. She swept, she washed plates, she served customers, and she watched Auntie Linda carefully, how she smiled at people, how she ran her small business with quiet power. One afternoon, Shola sat under the counter, writing numbers in the sand with a stick. Auntie Linda leaned down and asked, "Where did you learn that?" Shola answered, "From watching the school near the express road. I memorized what the teacher said." The woman blinked. "You mean you never went to school?" "I did, once. For 3 weeks. Auntie Bisi paid, but she moved away." Auntie Linda was silent for a long time. The next week she returned with a gift, a brand new exercise book and a pack of pencils. The week after that, she went a step further. 3 weeks later, Shola stood inside a dusty public school classroom, her hands trembling, heart pounding. She wore a second-hand uniform that Auntie Linda had bought from a thrift market. It was too big, but it felt like a crown. "Behave yourself, oh," Auntie Linda said that morning as she let her in. "Make me proud. I don't have money to waste." Shola nodded quickly, holding the nylon bag with her new book like it was gold. The first day was strange. Children stared, some giggled. But the moment the teacher asked a question and Shola answered before anyone else could raise a hand, everything changed. She was smart, too smart. She answered questions older students couldn't. She memorized poems after hearing them once. She wrote with speed and precision. Even the headmistress asked one day, "Who trained this child?" Shola always said, "Auntie Linda." Every evening after class, she returned to the food stand to work. She cleaned, helped serve, and sometimes got to taste leftover soup or fruit. But her real reward was watching Auntie Linda nod in approval and say, "Good girl." It was the first time Shola felt seen, felt loved. Then just when life seemed like it was turning, everything changed. Auntie Linda came home one night holding a white envelope. "My sister in the UK finally processed my papers," she said, tears in her eyes. "After 7 years of waiting." Shola smiled. "So we're traveling?" The woman stopped smiling. "No, Shola, just me." The room grew quiet. Shola blinked. What about me? Auntie Linda sighed deeply. I paid for your school up to this term. Maybe God will send someone else to help you. I've done all I can. Shola stared at her plate. She wanted to scream, "Take me with you, please." But she only nodded. 3 weeks later, Auntie Linda was gone. No one told her goodbye. No one else came to pay the next term's fees. The headmistress called her one day and said, "We're sorry, Shola. Without fees, you can't remain." She stood outside the school gate for hours, clutching her bag, waiting for Auntie Linda to come back. She never did. She waited outside the school gate until the sun began to fall behind the buildings. Her uniform was dusty. Her book bag hugged her side. Flies buzzed near her ear, but she didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the bend of the street where Auntie Linda had promised to return. But that bend remained empty. Shola's stomach rumbled. Her throat burned from the dust she'd swallowed all day. Children walked past in clusters, laughing, chasing each other, their parents waiting with snacks and hugs. No one came for her. Eventually, the gateman walked up. "Little girl, it's time to go." Shola nodded slowly. She stood, dusted herself off, and walked away. But she didn't go home. Where was home, anyway? The broken kiosk she used to sleep in with her mother now had a new tenant, a drunk who threatened her with a belt the last time she tried to return there. The corner by the bakery where Abini used to beg was now occupied by two boys who sniffed glue and fought anyone who looked at them wrong. The streets had changed while she was gone. The only thing that hadn't changed was her mother. Still mad, still barefoot, still talking to ghosts and demons in the air. When Shola found her by the gutter that night, her mother was trying to feed a dead pigeon with gari soaked in brown rainwater. "Mummy, it's me. Let's go somewhere safe," Shola whispered, but her mother only hissed and slapped her. Shola wiped the blood from her lip with the back of her hand and sat down beside her anyway. They spent the night curled on the pavement, surrounded by cigarette butts and mosquito bites. Her mother laughed in her sleep. Shola didn't sleep at all. The next morning, she wore her school uniform again. She tied her books in a black nylon and walked back to the school. She waited outside the gate. Maybe they would change their minds. Maybe someone would help her. But when the headmistress passed, she paused and frowned. "Why are you here again? I told you, no fees, no school." I'll pay. I will," Shola stammered. "How? You and that crazy woman don't even eat well." The words hit like a slap. Teachers passed. Parents stared. Shola's cheeks burned with shame. "Please, Ma, let me just sit at the back. I won't make noise." The woman shook her head. "Don't disgrace yourself. This is not charity. Leave." And that was it. The gates closed. Shola sat by the wall and cried into her book until the letters blurred. Days turned into weeks. She tried returning to the food stand, but it had a new owner now. Auntie Linda was gone for good. The new woman chased her off. She sold her last pair of decent sandals for N300 and used it to buy bread and garai. Her uniform faded into gray. Her exercise book got wet in the rain one night, and the ink ran until all her notes became unreadable. People stopped seeing her as that smart girl. Now she was just another street girl, just another shadow on the roadside. One evening, while trying to find somewhere dry to sleep, she saw a boy no older than 9 light a match and smoke something wrapped in paper. He looked at her and said, "Come join us. If it make you forget, say you hungry." She shook her head and walked away. Her hunger was loud, but her fear of becoming like those boys was louder. She still had one treasure left, her mind. And somehow she still believed that one day, just one day, it would all change. She couldn't help herself, no matter how many times they chased her away, insulted her, or mocked her. Shola kept going back. Every morning while other children were tying their shoelaces and tucking in crisp white shirts, Shola would find her way to the back fence of City Crest Academy, a private school that looked like a palace from her side of the world. The walls were painted gold. The windows had polished glass. The students wore blazers and sparkling shoes, their names stitched neatly onto their uniforms. She didn't belong there, not even close. But it didn't stop her. There was one window cracked open behind a classroom that had a small ledge she could stand on. It was next to an old mango tree where no one ever looked. That was her secret place, From there, she could see everything: the chalkboard, the math problems, the teacher explaining vowels. Shola would mouth the answers quietly to herself, clutching a broken pencil stub like it was sacred. Her notebook had long been destroyed by rain, so she wrote on scraps of paper she scavenged from garbage bins. Old flyers, tissue boxes, anything with a clean side. Each day she stayed until the bell rang. Then she'd vanish before someone spotted her. But one Monday she wasn't fast enough. The teacher noticed her, a ragged girl with bright eyes peeking from behind the window. "Hey, who's that?" the woman yelled. Shola froze. A student turned, pointed, and said with disgust, "It's that crazy girl again, the one who follows us." The class burst into laughter. The teacher stormed to the back and opened the door. "What do you want, Anne? Who sent you here?" Shola stammered. "I just want to learn. Please, just listen from outside." "Are you mad? Do you think this is a public place?" "No, Ma, but I won't disturb anyone. I promise." "Go and tell your mother to pay school fees first," the teacher barked. "If you even know who your mother is." Shola's lips parted, but no words came out. The teacher grabbed a stick from the table and raised it. Shola turned and ran so fast she didn't feel the tears stinging her cheeks until she reached the next street. She didn't give up. The next day, she found another school, Bright Scholars Academy. Less fancy, but still guarded. She didn't try the window this time. Instead, she crouched outside a broken part of the fence and listened. When children recited their times tables, she whispered along. When they chanted words in English, she repeated after them. Sometimes she even corrected them under her breath. One morning, a boy noticed her and threw a stone. "Witch, go away! You're distracting us!" Shola didn't flinch. The stone hit her shoulder, but she held her tears. Another child laughed and shouted, "She's mad like her mummy. Go and learn in psychiatric hospital." Still, she came the next day, and the day after that. But pain has a way of piling up. One afternoon, a security guard saw her and dragged her by the arm. "Who are you? You're always sneaking around like a thief." "I'm not a thief, sir. I just want to learn." He didn't listen. He pushed her to the ground and warned, "Next time I see you here, I'll beat you." As she limped away, Shola looked up at the building, the bright walls, the desks, the blackboard. Everything she longed for, yet everything she couldn't touch. She sat under a tree and began writing multiplication tables in the dust with a stick. When the wind blew them away, she started again. That night, as her mother babbled beside her in sleep, Shola looked at the stars. "God," she whispered, "why do you make me so smart and then lock the doors to school? Did you give me this brain just to suffer?" There was no answer, just the distant honking of traffic and the quiet sobbing of a child desperate for more than survival. The first time Shola carried a tray of water on her head, her neck nearly snapped from the weight. She was barefoot. The tray was rusted. The sachets of pure water were barely cold, but they were all she could get from Mama Doris's shop on credit. "Don't break any, oh," Mama Doris had warned. "If one falls, you pay. If I see you sitting to rest, you pay." Shola had nodded. She was used to rules that hurt. She adjusted the tray and stepped into the sun. The Lagos road didn't care that she was 12. It didn't care that her feet were blistered or that her shoulders trembled under the heat. All it cared about was hustle. The pure water business was war. Grown women shoved her aside. Boys twice her size called her small mad girl and stole her customers. Buses almost crushed her. Drivers yelled at her, but she kept moving. Every time she sold a sachet, she'd whisper under her breath, "5 naira closer to food." Her goal was simple: feed her mother. That was it. Nothing fancy, no dreams, no fantasies. Just bread and a kara so her mother wouldn't go hungry. By midday, her legs were shaking. Her lips cracked. Her body begged for rest. She found a corner under a faded billboard and sat. She had sold 12 sachets. That was N120. If she sold 10 more, she'd have enough to buy Gary and okra. A man walked past, saw her, and dropped N200 into her tray. "Go buy something, little one," he said. She blinked. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. But the moment he turned the corner, a teenage boy snatched the money from the tray and ran. She screamed and gave chase. but he vanished into the chaos of the market. Shola stopped, her chest heaved, her eyes burned. She sat by the gutter and sobbed. People walked past. No one looked twice. That evening, she returned to the roadside where her mother sat, humming to herself and clapping like a child. Shola forced a smile. "Mummy, I brought bread." Her mother looked at her, confused. "Who are you? Are you the angel with black wings?" Shola sat beside her. "No, Mummy, I'm Shola, your daughter." Her mother giggled. "My daughter is a star. She fell from the sky and drowned in a bottle of oil. That's what they told me." Shola held her gently and tore the bread into small pieces, feeding her slowly. She didn't eat. She was too tired. Later that night, Shola found a broken mirror by the kiosk they sometimes slept near. She stared into it. Her face was sunburned, her eyes swollen, her lips bleeding from too much heat. She looked nothing like the students in the school she watched. And yet, when she whispered math questions to herself, she still got the answers right. "When you divide 6 by 3, what do you get?" she asked herself quietly. 2. She smiled, no matter how much the world tried to break her. Her mind was still sharp. Her fire still burned. And that was enough to keep her going. The next day, she was back on the road, tray full, feet raw, heart steady. She was selling water. But in her heart, she was still chasing something bigger. A chance, just one chance to prove that the daughter of a mad woman didn't have to die in the streets. Shola wasn't supposed to be there. Queen's Crest International School had tall, polished gates, guarded by men in navy blue uniforms with radios clipped to their belts. Children arrived in air-conditioned SUVs, escorted by drivers in white gloves. The walls shimmered with fresh paint. The glass windows reflected the sun like diamonds. It was a school for the rich, the elite, definitely not for the barefoot daughter of a roadside madwoman. But Shola had seen it one too many times from afar. And today, something inside her said, "Go closer." She had no money, no plan, and no right, but she had eyes filled with longing. So she crept around the side fence where bush and weeds grew wild. She found a small gap near a drainage pipe and slid in, brushing off thorns as she slipped through. Her heart pounded like a war drum. She expected to be caught immediately, but no one saw her. She walked past flower beds, hiding behind trees, ducking every time she saw a teacher or student. Eventually, she found a quiet spot behind a large mango tree near the back field. From there, she could see one of the junior classrooms through a winding open window. She crouched low, pulled out a pencil from her pocket, and began copying the words she heard onto a scrap of nylon. She was halfway through, sounding out a difficult English passage when she heard a voice behind her. "You're the girl they always chase away, right?" Shola's heart stopped. She spun around. A girl about her age stood there, her hair braided in neat cornrows, her uniform spotless. Her name tag sparkled, Jessica Agu. "I didn't mean any harm," Shola stammered, backing away. I was just listening." Jessica tilted her head. "Why?" Shola blinked, confused. "Because I want to learn." Jessica walked closer. "You don't go to school?" "No, my mother, she's sick. We live on the streets." Jessica looked down. Her polished black shoes made no sound in the soft grass. "People laugh at me too," she said quietly. "They say I'm dumb, that my dad paid the school to keep promoting me." Shola looked up, surprised. "You?" Jessica nodded. "I don't understand anything they teach in class. Everyone's always ahead of me. So I sit out here during lunch, alone." A long silence passed. Then Jessica smiled. "Do you want to sit?" Shola hesitated. Jessica sat first and patted the ground beside her. Shola slowly lowered herself to the grass. Jessica opened her bag and pulled out a textbook. "Can you teach me this? I don't get it." Shola looked at the page. Fractions. She studied it for a moment, then gently took the book. "Okay, so look, when you see 1/2 and 1/4, they don't have the same denominator." Jessica listened, wide-eyed as Shola broke it down. Within minutes, Jessica was solving problems she had struggled with all that term. She gasped. I understand. I finally get it." Shola smiled shyly. "You're not dumb." Jessica grinned. "And you're not just smart, you're amazing." They sat under the mango tree for over an hour. When the bell rang, Jessica stood. "Will you come tomorrow?" she asked. Shola hesitated. "They'll chase me. I don't belong here." Jessica narrowed her eyes. "Wait here, Berhekeo." She ran off. A few minutes later, she returned with the school's security man following closely behind. "This is my friend," Jessica said firmly. "Her name is Shola. She'll be here tomorrow during lunch. Let her in." The man looked confused. "But she's not." "She's my friend," Jessica repeated. "And my daddy owns this school. You have a problem with that?" The man blinked and said nothing. Jessica turned to Shola. "Same time tomorrow, okay?" Shola nodded slowly, still not believing what had just happened. As she left the school, she felt something new. Not fear, not shame, hope. That night, as her mother sang to a broken bottle and danced barefoot in the dark, Shola sat by the gutter and prayed. "God, I met someone today. She saw me. She didn't call me dirty or mad. She listened. Please, let me see her again. Let this not be a dream." Then she slept with a smile on her face. The first in a very, very long time. They met under the mango tree every single day. Same time, same spot. Shola came barefoot in her torn brown gown, clutching a plastic bag with torn papers and a blunt pencil. Jessica came in her ironed uniform with a lunchbox packed by the cook. Two girls from two different worlds. But when they sat under that tree, nothing else mattered. Their friendship grew like a fire in the cold. Jessica laughed more now. She paid attention in class, not because the teachers finally made sense, but because Shola did. "Don't read it like a robot," Shola would whisper. "Read it like you're talking to your best friend." Jessica tried, stumbled, then tried again. And when she got it, Shola clapped with joy like she'd won a trophy. Jessica's eyes would shine. "No one ever claps for me," she once confessed. Shola blinked. "But you're rich. Don't people celebrate you?" Jessica shook her head. "Only when I dress well or when my dad hosts parties. Not when I get answers right. Not when I trap on." That day, Shola held her hand and said something she never thought she would say. "You deserve more." Jessica didn't say anything. She just held Shola's hand tighter. One afternoon, as they shared Jessica's spaghetti and plantain under the tree, Jessica asked, "Do you have a best friend?" "You," Shola replied without thinking. Jessica smiled. "Me too." Then her smile faded. "Shola, what if my daddy finds out? What if he says we can't be friends?" Shola paused. Her spoon hovered over the lunchbox. "Then you'll forget me. That's how it works." "No," Jessica snapped. "I won't." "He'll be angry," Shola said softly. "Rich men don't want their daughters sitting with girls like me. My mother begs on the road, Jessica. Some people say she's cursed. They think I'm cursed too." Jessica was quiet. Then she leaned forward and whispered, "You're not cursed. You're magic." Shola blinked, stunned. "Magic?" Jessica nodded firmly. "Yes. Who else can teach better than all my teachers? Who else can make me laugh when I feel like crying? Who else can make a place like this feel like home?" Shola's chest grew tight. Her eyes welled, but she blinked fast to hold back the tears. "Magic," Jessica whispered again. "That's what you are." They started sharing more than food and textbooks. Jessica brought Shola a hairbrush, a small blue notepad, even a pair of slippers once, though Shola rarely wore them, afraid someone would steal them on the street. Shola, in return, told stories, real ones and made-up ones. Stories about stars falling in love with street kids, about girls who found schools in dreams, and about mothers who got healed by rain. Jessica listened like every word mattered. And it did. For the first time in her life, Jessica didn't feel alone. And for the first time, Shola didn't feel invisible. But they kept it a secret. Jessica didn't tell her teachers, didn't tell her classmates, definitely didn't tell her father, Chief Agu, one of the most feared and respected billionaires in Lagos. She didn't know how to. How do you tell a man who ran oil companies and sat on TV panels that your best friend was a street girl with no shoes? And so, under the mango tree, the two girls built a world of their own. A world where names didn't matter, where background didn't exist, where a billionaire's daughter and a madwoman's child could dream the same dream. Together. One day, Shola didn't show up. Jessica sat under the tree, waiting. She checked her watch. 30 minutes. Then an hour. Still no Shola. Panic crept into her chest. Had something happened to her? Had she fallen sick? Or worse, had someone chased her again? She stood ready to run to the gate when she heard a soft voice. Jessica! She turned. There was Shola, panting, barefoot, dirt on her legs, but smiling. I'm sorry I'm late, she said. My mom, she had an episode, ran into the road. I had to pull her away before she got hit. Jessica rushed forward and hugged her, tightly. I thought you weren't coming. Shola chuckled. Even if I had to crawl, I would come. Jessica pulled back and looked her in the eye. One day I'll tell my dad. I promise. Shola swallowed hard. What if he says no? Jessica smiled with fire in her eyes. Then I'll scream until he says yes. That night, under the dim light of a broken street lamp, Shola lay beside her mother, who was humming to herself, holding a stone like it was a baby. Shola stared at the sky and, God, she whispered, I've never had a friend before. Please don't let me lose this one. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the notepad Jessica gave her. On the first page was a drawing, 2 stick girls holding hands under a mango tree, one in uniform, one in rags, both smiling. Shola traced the drawing with her finger and smiled. Then she closed her eyes, and for the first time in her life, she didn't fall asleep afraid. The morning started like any other. Jessica sat through her classes distracted, waiting for the lunch bell. Her fingers tapped her desk restlessly. Her heart was beating faster than usual. The teachers praised her improved performance. She had answered 2 questions correctly in literature. Even the principal mentioned it during assembly, but Jessica didn't care, because none of them knew the reason behind the change. It wasn't tutoring from an expensive private coach. It was Shola, the barefoot girl with a powerful mind and a heart bigger than anyone she'd ever known. Jessica couldn't wait to see her. At exactly 12:35 p.m., she was already under the mango tree with 2 spoons, a lunchbox, and Shola's favorite biscuit tucked into the corner. Then she heard it, the low hum of black SUVs rolling into the compound. Students turned to look. Teachers froze mid-sentence. Even the security men adjusted their uniforms and saluted. Jessica's stomach dropped. Daddy? Why is he here? Chief Agu didn't visit the school without warning. He was too busy for surprises. His name alone carried weight. His presence filled every space before he even spoke. Jessica stood quickly, brushing crumbs from her skirt. She didn't know what to do. Then, before she could act, Shola appeared, breathless, smiling, barefoot as always. I'm here, she said. Sorry, I had to fetch water before leaving. But Jessica wasn't smiling. Her eyes were locked on the figure stepping out of the SUV, tall, dark-skinned, impeccably dressed in a black caftan and leather sandals. Chief Agu, her father. Shola followed her gaze, her body stiffened. Is that? Jessica nodded slowly. My dad. Shola's smile vanished. Panic crashed through her chest like a wave. I have to go, she whispered. But it was too late. Jessica, the deep voice echoed across the lawn. She turned. Chief Agu walked forward, followed by 2 assistants. His eyes were sharp, calculating, confused. What are you doing out here? He asked. Jessica swallowed hard. I was having lunch. With who? Chief Agu looked to his daughter's side and saw Shola, a girl in a torn gown, legs covered in dust, holding a worn-out nylon bag and a half-eaten biscuit. His brow furrowed. Who is this? Shola bowed her head, her mouth open, but words refused to come out. Her entire body trembled. Jessica stepped in front of her. This is Shola. She's my friend. You're what? She helps me. She teaches me. Chief Agu blinked. Excuse me? Jessica took a breath and stood taller. The reason I've been doing well in school is because of her. She teaches me during lunch every day, and I understand her better than any teacher here. A long, heavy silence followed. Chief Agu's eyes remained fixed on the trembling girl behind his daughter. Then he asked quietly, Who are your parents, child? Shola barely looked up. Her voice was dry and cracked. I don't know my father, sir. My mother, she's sick. She begs by the roadside near Oshodi. People call her mad. We have no home. One of the assistants shifted awkwardly. Chief Agu's face remained unreadable. You're not in school? Shola shook her head. Why? No one to pay fees. My only sponsor. She left the country 2 years ago. Jessica grabbed Shola's hand. Chief Agu watched the gesture, his daughter holding this girl's hand like a lifeline. And for the first time, he softened. You've been coming here every day, teaching her, in secret? Jessica nodded. I wanted to tell you, but I was scared. He looked at her, and for once his voice lowered. Scared of me? Jessica whispered. Scared you wouldn't let me see her again. The billionaire turned back to Shola. She flinched. I'm not here to hurt you, he said slowly. Take me to your mother, please. Shola took a shaky step back. Sir, please, don't punish her. She doesn't know what I do here. She's not well. If I stop coming, I'll stay away. Just don't hurt her. I won't, Chief Agu said gently. I just want to see her. Jessica looked at her father. Promise you won't chase Shola away. He stared at both girls, two children from different worlds, but somehow they had found each other. I promise, he said. 30 minutes later, the convoy pulled into a dusty street near mile 12. Flies buzzed, the scent of burning trash hung in the air. Shola pointed. She's there. A woman sat on the sidewalk, barefoot, rocking back and forth, laughing at nothing. Her clothes were torn, her hair matted. That's my mummy, Shola whispered. Chief Agu was silent. He stepped down from the vehicle, walked toward the woman, and crouched beside her. Madam, he said softly. The woman looked up. Did you bring the sky? I left my wings in your car. Tears welled in Shola's eyes. I'm going to help her, Chief Agu said quietly. I know people. She needs proper care. Please, Shola said. I don't want money. I just want her to be okay. He stood, turned to his assistant, and gave orders. Get Dr. Aisha on the line. Psychiatric unit, full treatment, no delays. Then he turned back to Shola. And you? Shola's heart raced. From today, you are not a homeless girl. She gasped. He knelt before her, placed a firm hand on her shoulder, and looked her in the eyes. You have a father now. Shola didn't believe it at first, even as the car pulled away from the dirty street that had been her entire world. Even as she watched through the tinted glass while her mother was gently lifted into an ambulance, headed for the best psychiatric hospital in Lagos. Even when Jessica held her hand and whispered, You're safe now. She still thought it was a dream. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She simply stared, trying to understand how a day that started with fear had somehow ended with a billionaire calling her daughter. Chief Agu moved fast. By evening, Shola had taken her first proper bath in years. Jessica had given her fresh pajamas. Her hair had been gently combed and packed by one of the housemaids, who couldn't hide her surprise when Chief Agu introduced her. This is Shola. She'll be staying with us from now on. Treat her with the same respect you give my daughter. The entire house froze. The girl from the street? Living here? But Chief Agu's tone left no room for questions. The next morning, Shola stood in front of the mirror in Jessica's room, wearing a borrowed Queen's Crest school uniform. It was new, crisp, neatly ironed. She could hardly recognize herself. Jessica clapped with delight. You look just like me. Shola smiled weakly. I feel like I'm dreaming. You're not. My daddy said it's real. He said you belong here. But I'm the daughter of a mad woman, Shola said, her voice trembling. Jessica shook her head. No, you're the daughter of my father now. Shola turned slowly to the window, staring into the rising morning light. I don't know how to thank him. Jessica smiled. Then thank him the only way he truly cares about. How? Shine. Show the world what you can do. That day, the two girls walked into Queen's Crest together, matching uniforms, matching bags, matching smiles. Gasps followed them. Children whispered. Teachers blinked in confusion. Wasn't that the same street girl who used to hover behind windows and fences? Yes, it was. But today, she walked with the daughter of the school's founder. No more sneaking, no more peeping. She had come through the front gate as a student. In class, Shola raised her hand. Every question, every lesson, she wasn't just good, She was brilliant. By the end of the day, the teachers called a meeting with the principal. Where did this girl come from? One asked. She's not just smart, she's exceptional. The principal smiled. From the street, apparently. But now she's family. Meanwhile, Chief Agu kept his promise. Shola's mother was placed under expert psychiatric care at a private facility. Dr. Aisha assured him that Abini's condition, while critical, was treatable. We'll stabilize her, the doctor said. It will take time, but with love, medication, and structure, there's hope. Shola visited her mother once a week. The first few times, her mother didn't recognize her. She'd shout at the walls or cry over invisible snakes. But on the fifth visit, she suddenly paused. She looked up at Shola and whispered, You look like the ski. Shola burst into tears. Weeks passed. Shola adjusted to her new life slowly. She still woke up some nights gasping, thinking she was back on the sidewalk. She still flinched when someone raised a hand too quickly. But gradually her smile became freer, her laughter more frequent. She spoke during class, she made new friends, but no one ever took Jessica's place. They were sisters now, not by blood, but by bond. They shared everything, stories, secrets, lunch, and dreams. Jessica's grades soared, her confidence bloomed, her teachers marveled, and they all knew why. Because of the girl who used to sit under the mango tree. One Friday afternoon, Chief Agu called Shola into his study. She stood nervously by the door. He gestured for her to sit. I've been watching you, he said. You've changed my daughter's life, and mine. Shola lowered her gaze. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to learn. He chuckled. And now you will. As far as I'm concerned, you're my child, and I'll do for you what I'd do for Jessica. He opened a drawer and handed her a brand new tablet, preloaded with all her school materials. Shola stared at it like it was made of gold. Then she whispered, Thank you, sir. Thank you for seeing me, when nobody else did. He stood and placed a gentle hand on her head. You were never invisible, Shola. You just needed someone to look close enough. That night, Shola sat in the garden under the mango tree, now neatly trimmed, surrounded by clean tiles and benches. She looked up at the stars. My name is Shola, she whispered, daughter of no one, friend of Jessica, student of Queen's Crest. And now, she smiled, I have a father. She closed her eyes and whispered a final prayer. God, I used to ask you to make my mother better, to send me to school, to give me just one friend. You gave me all three. I don't deserve it, but thank you. She placed a hand over her heart. I promise I won't waste this chance. And so the girl the world called daughter of the mad woman became something far greater, a symbol of hope, a walking miracle, a living answer to her own desperate prayer. And for Chief Agu, for Jessica, and for everyone who ever believed that love and education can change a life, Shola was proof. The future had finally opened its doors, and she walked through them, head held high. No child is born worthless. Every life holds potential. With kindness, opportunity, and education, even the most forgotten soul can rise. Shola's story reminds us that one act of compassion can break cycles of poverty and rejection. True greatness isn't where you come from, but what you do when someone finally sees you. Believe, uplift, and never judge a child by their circumstance. We hope you enjoyed this powerful story. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share what you learned in the comments below. Your feedback means the world to us. And guess what? Another inspiring and educative story is coming your way in just a few days. So make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to be the first to watch when we upload. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and share it with your family and friends. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.